Alright, so we're taking a look at the Flamingo Verb. This is the newest plugin from Safari Pedals. So Safari Pedals gave me early access to this plugin to check out and spend some time with it. They are not seeing this video before it goes live on YouTube. They are not sponsoring this video in any way except for giving me access to the plugin. If you dig the plugin and you want to purchase it, there is an affiliate link in the description below. If you use that affiliate link to purchase anything at Safari Pedals, a small portion of that comes back to this channel. So I've been playing around with this plugin the last couple of days, and it truly is unlike any reverb plugin I've ever used. First, it's laid out like a guitar pedal, which I love because it makes dialing things in really simple. A lot of reverb plugins now are giving you a ton of parameters to manipulate. There are graphs and 3D shapes to move around. The Flamingo Verb gives you just a few controls, but there are a ton of different sounds and variations that you can get out of this plugin. Sounds that sound like this. And things that sound like this. So going over the controls, you have the bypass right here. You've got oversampling here, and I don't know enough about oversampling to really speak to it. Just know that it's there if you want it. Next, we have this drive knob, and I kind of think of this like a gain knob on a preamp, and what I think might be a little compression added in there too. Anyway, this lets you drive the signal going into the Flamingo Verb to get some saturation and even some soft overdrive. So next we have the time knob, and let's just get to that in a second because it's a little crazy. But real quick, if you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up and please consider subscribing to the channel so I can continue to make more videos like this. All right, so next we have this width knob, and I guess the best way to describe it is that as you increase this width, you're sort of adding more dimension and depth to the environment. And actually, you know what? Let's just talk about that when we talk about the time knob. On the bottom row, you have what you would expect from a reverb plugin. You've got your pre-delay, which is the time before the reverb actually kicks in. And then you've got high pass and low pass filter knobs, which really come in handy when you're using this thing on like drums or bass heavy instruments, or when you want to get some more darker atmospheric tones. So let's talk about this time knob. So what Safari Pedals has told me is that there are 4 original reverbs here that they captured themselves with impulse responses, or IRs. And if you don't know what IRs are, basically it's a method where you place a microphone on a source or in an environment, and then you play back specific sounds and tones through a speaker. That is then recorded through the microphone, and that is now the impulse response, or basically the character of that source or that environment. And then that impulse response is then loaded into what's called an IR loader, or in this case, the reverb plugin. And then anything that's played back through this IR takes on that same characteristic or tone that was captured in the impulse response recording. IRs have been around for a little while, and a lot of times we hear about them with capturing guitar tones off of rare and vintage amps or speakers. But it's starting to pop up a little bit more in these reverb plugins where people are going out and capturing impulse responses in different spaces. And some of those spaces are spaces that are really famous in the recording world, like studio rooms where a lot of hit records were recorded, or in attics. So back to the Flamingo Verb. There are 4 original IRs in this plugin, but instead of giving you a toggle to switch between these IRs, you have a knob where you can essentially move through these impulse responses and in some positions get a blend between 2 entirely different IRs. So if we adjust the time knob here, you'll see that there is a millisecond info box that pops up here. So if you turn this all the way to the left or counterclockwise, you would expect a pretty short decay on your reverb length, but you also get what distinctly sounds like a room. Here's where things get really interesting. Using the drive knob, it almost sounds like someone is just increasing the volume or the velocity of whatever performance is happening in this room. So now let's talk about this width knob. As you increase the width, it doesn't just push the sound out wider. It almost sounds like it's moving you, the listener, to a different place in the room. Now I've been focusing on the sound that you get on the shortest setting on the time knob, and it definitely sounds like a room. But as we increase the time, you get distinctly different sounds, and it's not just necessarily increasing the size of the room. In fact, as we get up here to like the 2 o'clock range, this sounds like a spring reverb. You can find a reverb sound in this plugin that sounds awesome on just about anything you throw on it. For this song, I used the shorter room sound as a send on my drums and my rhythm guitars to get this cohesive, distinct room sound. And then I used some of the longer tail reverbs like the spring and the hall reverbs to add ambience in the synth and lead guitar tracks. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for checking it out. Go check out Safari Pedal's YouTube channel. Gnome over there is doing a series where he sort of talks about what it's like running a plugin company, and you get sort of behind the scenes look at that, and it's pretty cool. Alright, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, like and subscribe, do all the things.